I want to believe you can all hear me. You can also see my screen clearly. If that is so, then we can start off today. Today's discourse on safety and health legislation and Ohsas 18001. In our last class, we uh, went through some areas of discourse, and we stopped around this region where we're talking about the benefits of Ohsas 18001. Although before then we have looked at, we have started with, I started. We had actually discussed the Ohsas 18001 implements and operation, you know, um, taking a cue from the structure of the Ohsas. So I'm going to just do an overview of everything of this aspect again to help those who may have missed that class. All right. So quickly, if you look at it, the structure of Ohsas, the structure of Ohsas 18001 is such that we take lead from the management review, and then to policy, and then to the occupational health and safety policy. All right. I don't know how many of you may have been take or are taking Nebosh. But if you have done Nebosh before, or maybe if you're going to do it, if it's part of the course, if you're still going to take, then you will be told, or you must have been told about the elements of health of our safety management system of that's our SMS, the component of the safety management system, and policy is one of them. All right, and in fact, not just one of them, is a key. Okay, sorry about that. I hope you can hear me clearly. All right, so the element, part of the element of the safety management system, you know, is policy. In fact, a key part of it is policy, and that's very important too. Under policy, that policy covers every rules. It talks about the rules guiding the operations of such organizations. Okay, safety policies. In it, you're going to have the statement of intent. You are still going to have the objectives of the organization and their decisions of pertaining with respect to the operations they carry out for each of those policies. Now, apart from the health and safety policy, you also have other sub policies that are attached to that. All right. So the structure of the Ohsas 18001 covers this part also. Okay. Then we also have planning, then implementation and operation, and checking corrective actions. All right. There's something we're going to be talking about. I think we've talked about it in the past. Talk about the PC, the PDCA. All right. Talking about the plan, do, check, and act components. All right. So come to that very. All right. Okay. I think we discussed that before in previous class. Now, implementation for the implement and operation of 18001, we look at some key areas. Number one is structure and responsibility, which I just started discussing earlier. Then again, training, awareness, and competence. Yes, that's a very key part. Every organization must ensure that they engage in training of their staff, not just training, but even training and retraining. All right. Then create awareness concerning the safety rules and regulations, and again ensure that they make use of competent staff. Now, staff who have experience and have been trained in the field of of plasticity. So if you're having an electrical party, make sure that skilled, trained electrical personnel that know the stand requirement, the safety requirement, not just like they say in Yoruba, kind of electrician that you just do join. No, no, no. The really skilled electrical technicians that will also comply with safety standards or safety rules and regulations in their operation is very important. So part of the Safety Act of 1974, it also requires that employers ensure that their staff are trained, and um, they make use of competent assessment in their operations. Okay. Now this is also part of the responsibility described for employers. All right. Apart from the fact that they also need to make sure that they provide protective and personal protective equipment to the staff to carry out these operations at no cost. All right, that's more discussed in the NEBOSH action. Okay, then consultation and communication also is part of it. Documentation, you must ensure that all records are put in place, all documents, as proper documentation. In fact, there's an accident, it should be recorded. The investigation report should be also documented. The pass-up and hazard, that hazard means hazard identification. Pass-up means hazard or probability studies. Now the pass-up, the hazards, the risk assessment, every of these things, you must have a documentation system for them, for procedures and for procedures, for policies, and also for all forms of operations, even your work method statements, and all your incidents and incident report, investigation, and the rest of them. Proper documentation process. Then um, document and data control, very important. Document the data control of your information. You understand? There are information that are classified, there are information that are general, there are information that are um, just internal for internal consumption, that's internal memos and the rest of them. Now, you should be able to know which information is to be decimated, which information is to be that. However, it is not expected that you hide away incident reports or information concerning incidents. That is even a that is a breach of regulations. Okay, operational controls, emergency preparedness and response, or EROP, emergency response plan. Of your Ohsas 18001 also guides this too. The emergency response plan for every form of emergency. There are different types of emergencies that could occur. Now, each of these emergencies have their different procedures. What am I trying to say? The emergency procedure for fire incidents, for instance, may not be the same emergency procedure when there is maybe something like sporadic shooting. Certainly, if you're in a location there's an attack, you understand, like sporadic shootings, you start hearing gunshots everywhere, and you're in a particular location. What's your emergency procedure for that? Such procedure, for instance, you're not expected to start assembling or moving, walking or moving gradually to the assembly or muster or for the muster point. No, you're expected to lie flat at that location and remain in that location, and possibly if you are going to move, you move in that position rather than lying flat. You move gradually to if there is a safe haven close by. Otherwise, you remain there until you hear a different command from the chief, maybe the chief security person in that location. You know, and but if there is a fire outbreak, you cannot remain where you are not expected to remain where you are. You are not expected to lie flat. Yeah, I think you get what I'm trying to say. So the approach differs. For a fire outbreak, for instance, the emergency response will be different for the personnel. Then there are other actions. That's not just where it ends, even at line flat or like for sporadic shooting or for you to say, okay, everybody moves to the assembly point or the muster point where there is now a head count, and then the firefighters go to fire. Already will be addressing or attacking the fire. Those who have the training in firefighting, of the designated fire watch personnel, and all that stuff. Now, that's a process or two different emergencies having two different approaches. Now, what about when there's when someone eventually slumps in a site? If somebody slumps in a location, but that's also an emergency. The response is different. So all these are described and prescribed, and there are prescriptions for actions that should be taken. Even in your emergency response plan, the way you map out your emergency exit route, the design for the emergency, all these are specific that are involved in the implement and operation of Ohsas 18001. All right. Then we go again. We go from there to. I hope we are getting along. We go from there to talk about the benefit of Ohsas 18001. The benefit, the benefit of occupational health and safety system with respect to Ohsas 18001. Number one is that it provides a structured approach for managing occupational health and safety. If you have a if you are able to implement a standard occupational health and safety system, then it means that there will be a structured approach. It will not just be anywhere the lecture is imposed. You understand what I mean? It will not just be um, what's the word now? Just anyhow. It will not be casual. It will not be haphazard. No, it will be a structured approach. So following the standards, following all necessary standards and regulations with respect to managing your occupational health and what safety. Okay. Now, for me, I'm an advocate of not just occupational safety, but also looking at safety pre. So also very important because most times, like I usually say, we discover that a lot of people learn this safety this area of safety and the regulations and the guidelines and all that, and we only end up implementing it more at the workplace and forgetting about implementing it at home. Um, that can be very not can be that is actually a very dangerous thing to do. Okay, so whatever we are also learning and implementing as occupational health and safety, it also transcends rather also transcends to our domestic activities too. So we look at how you can um, transpose this same thing and implement them in your houses, in your day-to-day life. That's what we call the safety culture. Okay, safety culture is really a way of life. All right. So another thing I said, another benefit of occupational health and safety is that of occupational health and safety system rather is that it establishes and maintains a commitment to occupational health and safety. That's what I was just talking about, making it a culture, making it a culture because as you keep practicing it, it becomes part of you. It becomes a way of life. It becomes a culture. You get committed to it. Now, commitment is not just for employees alone. In fact, it is expected that the management should first demonstrate commitment. How? By partaking, first of all, the policies of an organization. When we talked about policy earlier, the statement of policy, the statement of intent or the policy statement of for each policy guiding the operations of an organization must be signed, duly signed, or enacted, that put into law, passed into the into operation in the organization, authorized, that's one, by the topmost managerial staff, personnel of that organization. What do I mean? That's the managing director or the CEO, as the case may be, of that organization. Now, what does this mean? It means that if an operation manager goes ahead and signs policy of a company, it does not, it does not, it cannot be implemented. It's not accepted by safety standards. So it is supposed to be signed by the number one man or number one person of the organization. Okay. Now, apart from that, the management is also supposed to show uh, commitment by also partaking first, encouraging every of the safety activity and the implementation and practice of compliance to safety rules and regulation in that organization. Also partaking in meetings, in decision making with respect to safety, and also possibly creating motivations, other forms of motivations like incentives or reward for compliance to people who also are ensuring who are complying to the rules and regulations. Such areas, such practices, in so doing, they are also demonstrating what commitment to safety. All right. So it demonstrates what strong commitment to safety excellence. The goal of every organization should be equal zero when it comes to incident what we call LTI, lost time injuries, and other losses that comes from safety. So you don't want your target should be what now to achieve zero incidents. And also you have to ensure full commitment to safety. That's what we can say, yes, this is safety excellence that is being demonstrated. Many organizations, we've heard of organizations celebrating 10 million man hour without with zero LTI, 7 million man hour with zero LTI. Most of them, some international organizations, that's a big record. That's something that they celebrate big. And it's really big, really very, usually a wonderful celebration. But for you to carry out several operations, several locations, and you are able to achieve zero incident as a zero LTI, what we call lost time injury. Lost time injury, those injuries that could lead to stoppage whether of of operations. Okay, that could have an impact on the continuity of a particular task or operation. Those kind of injuries have different types of them. Uh, but you want to ensure that you avoid that. If a state case is not classified under this category, okay, it's worthy of note for us to just take note of that. All right, now excuse me. Organizational structures in place. Organizational structure in place with what? Clear roles and responsibility. Yes. You need to have your structure from your organogram, your reporting line, and everything. Everybody knows their job to do, their task to do. Clear responsibility, clearly defined job description. Before any activity is done, they have the process, typical process to follow, especially when you have some procedures like the permitting system, permit to work system in place, and the rest of that. So these are benefits. Then you also have the existence of a continuous improvement culture. Yes, what in Japan this is described. There's a word that is used to describe this. That word is called kaizen. Kaizen. That's continuous improvement. Continuous improvement. And that you've been able to achieve a certain level of compliance, then you should be able to do more. You understand? If last year you had like three pay injuries and maybe uh, one fatality, for instance, in such organization, the following year they should be able to see how it okay, what could have caused these injuries? What could have caused this accident? Maybe two accidents or so. And uh, they they carry out investigations, root cause analysis, to discover the major causes of these issues. Then it is addressed, it is attacked, it is mitigated. Whatever those root causes are, that you when you carry out so-called an RCA, a root cause analysis of such incidents, then it will help you to improve the following year. Now, you also have measures in place like auditing and auditing and the rest of it, especially auditing to cross-check the level of compliance to this um, whole processes, especially when you are also documenting every of these incidents and reports and investigations and all that. Now, it will help you now see the areas you need to improve on because probably the root cause of one of the incidents may have been that the person may not have been well trained or aware of some kind of things that he or she would have been aware of. Then it means that improving on it, you have to now pay some more attention to training than you did in the previous year. You understand? Training and retraining and creation of awareness. All right? That's already a recommendation. Are you getting it? Now, this recommendation right now must have been made from your audit and from your root cause analysis, from your investigation. They should not just be in paper. They should also be in what? Practice. What do I mean? Being in practice means that you're implementing them. You implement them. For instance, okay, you discover that you had two or three or four cases where a truck either nearly hit. Some people neglect the investigation of what called near misses. So when you investigate near misses and you're able to work on near misses, incidents that occur, and you're able to now implement them, you'll be able to guide against any accident that could come from that. All right. We had a case in there was a particular location where they had about two or three records in the previous year of vehicles within the facility. Almost one almost an incident, then the other two actually was an incident as it were. They hit someone in the premises. One was a visitor. Now, two of those incidents were vehicles on reverse mode, while one was somebody driving in. So two things from the investigations and also one of the references or inferences was that said they didn't have it clearly stated what the speed limit is or supposed to be in that facility. You see, as minute as that may be, but it was not specified, it was not communicated, it was not specified that okay, within this facility, what is supposed to be the speed limit so that people don't just come in and drive anyhow, or somebody because he's angry, he drives out with speed or because he's in a hurry, he just no, that's a violation within the work premises. You know, even after the work premises, overspeeding is dangerous. So there should be speed limit defined. Alright? Then another inference or another complaint was that okay, all vehicles working used in that facility must have a reverse alarm. What's the reverse alarm? When the vehicle is on reverse road, you should be able to be making beeping that alarm that will be beeping to make someone and everyone around the area know that oh there's an oncoming vehicle. Why? Because when vehicles are on reverse sometimes some people walking in that area may not even know that there is a vehicle coming behind. Even the driver too, we also need to be what now, very aware of that. So those implementations were already signed for there. In the following year, what happened? They didn't record any incident of whether overspeeding or vehicles running into or hitting anybody around the area. Apart from that, another decision that was taken was that we recommended was that they should implement and they should create pedestrian area for people who are not driving. So when you are within the facility and you are walking, there should be a demarcated region that is also barricaded so that vehicles don't run into it. And anybody coming in, when you enter from the pedestrian gate or you're having to go out from the pedestrian gate, you have to follow that path. You don't just cross the layout area. You understand that? That was an improvement. So continuous improvement. The following year and the year after, never did they record such incidents anymore. That has already taken care. These measures that were implemented are taking care of that. But imagine if it was just put on record and not implemented. Then what would have happened? Probably we would have even had a case of fatality, you know. So everybody coming into that facility from the gate, they can see the sign that speed limit is 5 kilometers per hour within this facility. And as you're coming in as a pedestrian, someone that is not driving, you are walking, see the route you are going to follow. If you are on a vehicle, see the path you follow that takes you to the car park region or area. And that was thoroughly addressed. So you understand that? So improvement, the existence of continuous work now, improvement culture. So gradually everything, the next time, after like a year or 2 years, the next thing they had to do was to start putting speed bumps and within, yeah, speed bumps, not I said speed bumps, sorry, zebra crossing. Zebra crossing, because it's a very massive and large area that the organization occupies their work area. You know, so they have to put zebra crossing on some parts. Why? Because they realize that no matter how, there are still some areas where you have to cross. So putting zebra crossing and putting the signage around it, that was now another improvement on what has already been earlier discussed. I think we are getting the point now. So those are some of the benefits of what occupational health and safety. All right, you have strong level of trust and communication, reduction in incident level, and increased what measures of performance. You see, so you can see that this continuous existence of continuous improvement culture had a relationship with this reduction in the incident of levels with increased measures of performance, just like I earlier explained with this particular scenario that I just painted. All right. Now, then it also contributes to what business performance by reducing costs and liabilities. If you have an accident in an organization, there are costs that will be incurred, both direct and indirect costs. We also have in some cases insured and uninsured costs, several types of costs among any of these, which always fall within this region. Whether it's a direct cost or an indirect cost. A direct cost where you have to pay medical bills or you have to pay for that. You have to make physical payment for treatment and all the rest of it. Or you have to even be involved in maybe pay for legal suits. Probably the organization gets sued for something that would have been avoided. You understand that kind of thing. So all these are direct costs. Then sometimes they could also have indirect costs that will come from the cost of training new personnel that will have to take care of and replace the ones that can no longer work in that region because of maybe an incident or an accident that they are being killed. Probably it's a permanent total disability that has resulted. Are you getting it? Now, if such happens, for instance, then there will be another extra cost, or even the cost of conducting interviews and recruitment and HR services. You know, so those are indirect costs. Now, some of these costs could be insured, some of them could be uninsured. But if you practice what now, a proper occupational health and safety system, then this cost will be what totally reduced, if not very well reduced, if not totally what eradicated. So it contributes to what business performance, improves not just business performance, but improves business what performance by reducing the cost and what liabilities. All right. We have many more benefits. All right. What we use an acronym called control to what describe. That's the benefit of Ohsas. You know, we just talked about the benefit of occupational health and safety system, OH and S. The different from the benefit of what? Ohsas. This is the benefit of Ohsas. Ohsas 18001. And for Ohsas 18001, please take note of all this. Peradventure, you see questions like this, or you are faced with this kind of questions, you should understand their differences. All right. Now, for Ohsas 18001, it benefits first across. We use an acronym called CONTROL, because that's basically its function. Control. Number one is what? Compliance with what? Legislation. If you are practicing, if you're implementing Ohsas 18001, definitely you will be complying with what? The legal requirements of the organization and the government. All right. Now, ownership of what? Health and safety issues. That you are taking ownership of health and safety issues. You are taking responsibility. All right. Then nominal effort is required. You don't need so much effort as an individual enemy. You don't have to put in too much stress. No, everything is going to be with even little, very little effort. Not much, because everybody is putting things together and everything is now being done safely and better. All right, training needs are identified and realized. So you get to realize when training needs to be done and all that. Please don't forget all this acronym for benefits of what? Ohsas 18001. The benefit is what? Control, compliance to legislation, ownership of health and safety issues. That's you taking responsibility of action, a conscious effort to make sure that you comply to health and there's compliance to health and safety issues. That's what we're talking about. Then we'll talk about training needs that are identified and realized. Then we'll also talk about reduced costs. I've explained that earlier. The same thing, reduced costs. Then opportunity for integration. You discover that it is now easy for you to integrate systems, integrate processes, to bring in other systems. It is not easy integration. Even for the organization, they can even easily now integrate with other higher or bigger organizations because they already have a standard practice. This fact explains why you discover that organizations that have a very good standard in safety, they always have jobs or contracts or projects to handle for IOCs, for multinationals, because they want to see companies, they will not just come to a local company and just take you. No, no, no. They want to see an organization that can also meet up or comply with their own international safety standards too. That will not go and fall their hand in quote. Are you getting it? Yeah, not fall their hand in quote. They need to use that one. So that's what we're talking about. Then liability is also what? Minimized. All right. So these are the benefits of what? Of Ohsas. Now the approach is the plan, the do, the check, and the act. That's the for continuous improvement in occupational health and safety. Everything we're just trying to explain is what this is what I call the PDCA approach. The PDCA approach, talking about the plan, the do, and then the D. Plan, do, check, and act. Start from here. Planning. Do is to implement the process. Check is to monitor, carry out performance, and measure the performance by audits and the rest of them. Internal, whether internal audit and external audit. And policies, setting of policies, compliance to them, the objectives, legal and requirements, and report results. All these things are the checks that are put in place. Then the act is to take action to continually improve occupational health and safety. In Japan, we call that Kaizen. All right? Kaizen, yeah. Kaizen. All right. Now, that is the PDCA approach to occupational health and safety. And then, the key points to note, the key steps for Ohsas 18001 certification. Number one is what? The definition of certification scope. You define the scope of this certification. What area is it going to cover? What are to be looked into? What measures are to look into? In this area, everything that we've talked about will also be put in under the scope or followed in that pattern, in that PDCA process. The plan, how well has it been, how much plan has been put in place, what has been implemented from the plan, the do, then the check and the what, the act, as I put it there, the implementation of the process, the check to monitor, to measure, performance, and then the act. Now, let me explain this. Like in monitoring and measuring, in measuring, we look at key performance indicators. There will be performance indicators. There will be some things we need to use to measure. Now, how do you measure that? Okay, you'll be taking record in within so time. How many accidents have occurred? How many injuries have occurred? How many medical treatment cases have occurred? How many permanent total disabilities? How many permanent partial disabilities? How many those of you who have done HSC 1 to 3 we remember these things already. So all that describes. Hello? Yeah, I'm rounding off now. Can you hear me? Okay, so all that describes what we are talking about. So the key steps for Ohsas 18001 is for definition of scope, pre-audit, then certification audit performed in 2 stages. The stage 1, which is the readiness review, then stage 2, which is the evaluation of implementation. All right. Then you have where the certificate that is valid for 3 years will now be issued. Then we have surveillance audit that is done to verify management system, and then we have the recertification after 3 years to confirm itself. That's like a confirmation. Then we have a conformance and effectiveness of the management. That's an assessment that is carried out on the system as a whole. All right, so these are the processes for that. So read up assignment for you is to give me the advantages of Ohsas 18001 certification. That's number 1 assignment. The advantages of Ohsas 180, the key advantages. I'm not saying benefits now. For the certification, the advantages of Ohsas 18001 certification. Then 2, the benefits of Ohsas 18001 system.